Hello friends, my name is Coco, and you don't know me and I don't know you, but I'm very happy you're alive today. I've been taking a couple days to think about this. As I think everybody knows, there's been a couple suicides in the news lately, and I just kind of wanted to address a couple things. So you always hear, oh, they seem so happy, they seem like they had everything going for them, how could they have done it, why would they do this or that, if they had children, it's like, how could they leave their kids behind, and all those other things, and I figured, coming from someone who, was very suicidal and had several attempts in her life, I could maybe help out with the whys. So, I can't speak in behalf of those people and exactly what the reason why was, but I can explain kind of maybe the thinking behind it. So, when it comes to they seem so happy, there is a really good mask that I like to put on. And my mask gets happier and happier the more miserable I seem, or I feel, or I am, or I could have been holding pills in my hand one day and thinking about swallowing the whole bottle, and then the next day I'm telling everyone, good morning, how are you? Oh, did you have a good day? Oh my god, that's so hilarious, And then I could be having a meltdown in the bathroom in the afternoon. Or I go home and I'm crying myself to sleep. And the next morning, that mask comes back on and I'm happy and I'm caring and I'm nice and I'm all the things that I want. I'm all the things that I want you to want me to be, so that way I feel needed. Because maybe, just maybe, that's just one extra little reason why I should be here. And when it comes to why do people do it, the greatest explanation I ever read about that it fully made me like, yeah, that's how I feel, is you take someone who is trapped inside a building, on the 7th floor, let's say, and they're trapped inside the building, and the building is on fire, and they've been trying to withstand the fire for as much as they can, but there's always the option to jump out the window, to not deal with being burned alive. And they relate that to suicide. You deal with this fight for so long that after a while it's a pain that you don't think you can handle anymore, because it's every waking part of you, it's every essence of your being is this pain that is telling you all these things and making you feel worthless and hopeless, and you're suffocating in it. And after a while, you've been suffocating for so long that you just want it to end. It doesn't even matter if you get to take a breath anymore. You just don't want to suffocate anymore. So you want the end. So the end is to jump out the window. Because I'd rather jump out the window than be burned alive for the rest of my life, right? So I think about those things when I hear people have committed suicide in the news. I think about the burning building, and I think about the fact that they jumped out. And a lot of people say, oh, suicide is selfish. It's very selfish. Those people are selfish. And it's like, well, those people were very selfless to endure the pain that they were enduring for so long alone, because they felt like they didn't want to burden people, or they felt like they didn't want people to worry, or maybe they would just be bothering other people, or whatever the case may be. And you can point fingers at the person for doing it, but ultimately you don't know the struggles and the battles that someone was dealing with, or for how long they've been dealing with it, because mask is on, and that mask feels so good to be on, because everybody just seems to like you a little bit more when the mask is on versus when the mask isn't on. So I can't say the exact reason, but I can give things that lead to it. And when you've been dealing with it for so long, you don't want to burn alive, and you don't want to burn anymore. And hey, the window's always there. And depression likes to whisper that the window's always there, even when we don't want it to be there. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that you can tell people to call the suicide hotline, you can tell people to get help, you can tell people you know, like, oh, do this and that, but maybe, just maybe, you can also leave little breadcrumbs, little reminders. You know, you can call someone and say, hey, just letting you know, I was thinking about you today, and I'm really happy that you're in my life. Or, hey, you know, you ever need me, I'm here. And someone with suicidal thoughts and depression may not always turn to that, but they may. They may remember that, well, it's whispering to them that nobody cares. Somebody does, because you just text them right in the moment where they're at their worst. Or, you know, sometimes people think like, oh, I just don't understand depression, I don't understand suicide, and I just be the worst for people, and I would make them feel awful. But sometimes there's something about you that people really love and they find comforting. And you may not know what to say, but the fact that you're there for them is the world to them. You know, we're not all expected to be psychologists to be able to help somebody, but what we are expected is to give love. So, I just got bit by I give love and I got bit. But, you know, I think that's the point. We can always tell people to call a number, but reaching out for help is really hard, especially when you're feeling at your most vulnerable and you're most afraid. Well, we can always talk about depression, we can talk about suicide, we can create discussions so people don't feel alone, because ultimately that's what depression does. It isolates us, it makes us feel alone. And we don't need to be, because although we feel alone and maybe we feel like we don't want to burn alive anymore and, you know, this is it, this is goodbye, it doesn't have to be. And the relief will come. We just have to hold out a little bit longer. And let me tell you, if I went back in time to tell myself that, I would definitely, in my most depressed state, say, I don't want to, I can't handle this pain. But people with depression are very strong. You don't know it, but you are. And you can just fight through just a little bit longer, because things will get better. The building won't be on fire forever. And instead of jumping out the window, we can get some oxygen masks, right? You know, maybe we can get some water on the building to just at least decrease the heat for just a little bit. And that's what friends and family are for. And that's also your job as someone with depression, to reach out. So, I love you all. I'm very happy you're here with me today. And I hope you remember that. So, that's all I have to say. See you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.